For the GIs discharged just hours earlier, the wait inside the Greyhound bus terminal was excruciating. They were on the final leg of a journey that had taken them halfway around the world and back. Freedom was so close they could nearly taste it.
The soldiers that were there, they had to have been jubilant and proud, happy to return home on your soil. So it had to have been just an exciting time for all of them to go home and see their families finally.
On the 8 o'clock Augusta to Columbia coach that night was Sergeant Isaac Woodard, headed home to Winnsboro, South Carolina to see his wife for the first time in several years. Woodard was still in uniform, carrying a battle star for bravery under fire and a final paycheck from the U.S. Army in the extraordinary sum of $695. Enough to start the kind of life he hadn't dared dream of before the war. Like the other 900,000 African-American soldiers returning home from duty, Isaac Woodard had come to see this bright new future as his due.
African Americans had fought in all of the major wars in American history, and there'd always been this theme of, if we fight and we show our loyalty, then we are going to advance and be recognized as more equal citizens. And that dream had always been frustrated. But World War II was actually quite different from past wars for African Americans, because it was a special kind of war.
This war, this particular war, crystallizes around the idea of this fight against fascism. And that means that it is a fight against inequality, of suppressing groups of people because of their race. So you have Black soldiers coming home, having been inculcated with the idea that America stands for something different than fascism, something different than racial and ethnic discrimination, something better.
By 10 o'clock on that February evening, Isaac Woodard was little more than an hour away from his homecoming in Winnsboro.
The atmosphere on the bus is jovial, filled with the relief that soldiers feel after surviving 15 months at war. Black soldiers and white soldiers are talking together, joking together. Eventually, a bottle of whiskey gets opened and passed around.
There were a few non-soldiers on the bus, and they were very uncomfortable with the interaction between the white and black soldiers. There were complaints to the bus driver, and the bus driver didn't like it.
There are, of course, in 1946, no bathroom facilities on public buses. Isaac Woodard asked the bus driver if, at the next stop, he could be allowed to disembark and to go to the bathroom.
And the bus driver tells him, "Boy, go sit back down."
The bus driver cursed him. Isaac Woodard cursed him back and proclaimed his manhood.
He just said to the gentleman, you know, "You don't have to speak to me in that manner. I'm a man just like you. In other words, give me respect."
Military training and service turned a black man from the rural deep South with a 5th grade education into a man willing to say words that he knew could put his life at risk. There is no doubt when he said that he was under any illusions about what he was saying, where he was saying it, on a bus, at night, in the Deep South. But he was a veteran. He was wearing the uniform. He was surrounded by veterans who were wearing the uniforms. They were returning from a war that they had won, and he was a stronger man because of it.
The bus driver is furious. At the next town, he goes looking for a police officer to have Woodard removed from his bus. Woodard's kind of perplexed. He steps off the bus, and as he's trying to explain himself, the police chief brings out his blackjack, which is like a baton, but it's spring-loaded and it has tremendous force, and hits Woodard over the head with it.
A soldier aboard the bus watched as the officer took Woodard by the arm and forced him around the corner and out of sight. That is the last I saw of him, he would tell investigators a few months later.
They started beating him all across the head, and they gouged his eyes out. They didn't beat him out. They put the stick in there and twisted it. They threw him in jail, and he told me they poured whiskey over him to say he was drunk. He was arrested for supposedly disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, and being drunk. He was not drunk. He was not being disorderly, and he did not disturb the peace.
He spends the night in jail, unable to see, in excruciating pain. The next morning, he is taken to the judge. He is levied a fine, but he can't see to sign the paperwork that is put before him. Ultimately, when Woodard is examined by specialists, they determine that he will never see again. The injuries are severe and they are irreversible. He will be blind for life.
And you spend 42 months in the military, overseas in the Philippines, and you come home to this. How can you just gouge someone's eyes out? Anybody, you can't do that. And it hurts me to even think about it. But it happened. It's sad. Well, that was, I say, a part of ignorance, you know. That's the bottom line. Plain ignorance.